Un, dos, tres, cuatro.
Between Costa Rica and Panama lies Bribri, a city predominantly inhabited by indigenous communities from both nations. The Bribri have historically struggled to remain on their land and preserve their culture, as well as having political struggles for the legal recognition of their claims to the land they inhabit within both Costa Rica and Panama. In Costa Rica 2011, only 54.7% of the recorded Bribri population was reported speaking the Bribri language. On top of this, the Bribri face both societal and environmental challenges around protecting their rights and land.
Now, indigenous communities, for example, in Costa Rica, are part of the payment for environmental services, practices and language to respect those and not to lose those. And we have challenges ahead in terms of land as well.
This is a story about Yorkin and Bribri, a community and organisation that aims to reclaim, preserve and teach their ancestral roots in Bribri culture. Every journey into Yorkin starts at the river's edge. For me, it started alongside the locals, people who know these waters better than anyone. Here in Costa Rica, rivers are more than just waterways, they're lifelines. They connect remote indigenous communities to the outside world. But when the rain comes, these waters rise, cutting people off and turning their homes into islands. Before we set off, the boatmen carefully loaded our gear, balancing each piece of equipment in the long wooden boats, hand-carved from trees. And once they were happy, we set off.
Nací para doblarme, yo nací para guerrear.
No nací para doblarme, no nací para guerrear.
Yo crecí con los pies
Pregunta, ¿este es Panamá? Sí, Panamá, Costa Rica. Correcto.
With few bridges and limited infrastructure, the Bribri rely on these rivers for travel, trade and even emergency medical care. Yet during storms, they're often stranded, unable to reach hospitals or schools. The Bribri navigate these waters with a deep respect and using skills passed down from generations, they have an understanding of the currents and the tides. But for them, the water is both a challenge and a way of life. So right now I'm beside the river that separates Panama from Costa Rica, which is where I'm standing right now. And what's really interesting is that this river doesn't actually apply to Bribri people. So as an indigenous person, you can cross this border without any sort of government control or border restrictions. What I really love about Costa Rica is that it has an acknowledgement for the people that were here before colonists. So a lot of the laws around indigenous people are completely different to foreign people outside of indigenous culture. So this is why they can just cross this border without there being any sort of restriction in place for them to, go through a border control or having a passport. They can just cross it no matter what. At first glance, Costa Rica's indigenous communities may seem well integrated, but the reality is far more complex. The Bribri people, like many indigenous groups, have faced generations of disenfranchisement rooted in colonialism. Yet many Bribri have blended Western beliefs with their own traditions, so it sort of made me wonder, what were the Bribri's original beliefs, and are they still being practiced? To find out, I spoke with Rolando, a respected Bribri elder, to hear the story firsthand.
Nosotros creemos en Dios, en Cibú, solo un Dios. El creador de toda la naturaleza, toda la tierra, todos los insectos, todo lo que nos rodea, que convive día con nosotros, el sol, la luna, las estrellas, el cielo, la lluvia, el sol, todo creemos que si vos Dios lo hizo en su momento.
At the heart of their beliefs stands the Cosmovision House, an architectural reflection of their understanding of the universe. For the Bribri, the earth is sacred. Everything that nourishes and sustains them emerges from the soil, and in death they return to it, reuniting with both earth and God. Their spiritual beliefs are distinct, and what many cultures perceive as heaven they see as below, while the underworld lies above, perceived as the sun. Cacao is central to their traditions, symbolizing purification and the goddess of renewal. Bribri women as matriarchs lead ceremonies and choose future leaders. Their deep knowledge of medicinal plants reflects their strong connection to nature. Though their history dates back thousands of years, it's passed down orally, making exact records unknown. What's really unique about Yorkin is that it's actually a matriarchy run by women. And what that means is that women hold all the power in deciding roles like spiritual leader in the community, who can do the sacred community rituals like the cacao ceremony, who can give medical advice, who are doctors in the community. And when I asked about why this was, I was told that essentially women are the only people that can give birth to a traditional Bribri person. So essentially they hold this hierarchy above men because those are the people that are maintaining the bloodline. In order to learn more about the women of Yorkin, I met with Daisy, a leader who is making a conscious effort to preserve her community. She described to me the dangers of Bribri people losing their culture, but more so how a group of women started an organisation to help protect and reclaim their heritage. So after talking to Daisy, one of the community leaders here, she told me that only 17% of the people in Yorkin actually speak their native language, which is Bribri. And there's this big sort of organisation in place that actually helps them connect with their indigenous culture called Stibropa. And what they do is that they teach Bribri to the indigenous people, but also bring in tourists and volunteers to sort of create an economy for Yorkin so they can better improve their infrastructure. So one of the issues that she was talking about was actually indigenous people leaving to go to other communities because the infrastructure there and the education there is better. So they have some issues with people actually leaving Yorkin as well. Following on from my chat with Daisy, I was invited to speak with Bernarda, one of the founders of Stibropa, an organisation intended for supporting Bribri people as well as conservation and economic development.
Mi nombre es Bernarda, mucho gusto. Pues yo soy la fundadora de la organización Stibropa. Tengo 35 años trabajar en esta organización.
Amongst people leaving her community and the economic challenges of climate change and the pandemic, Bernarda spoke of the systemic and complicated issues surrounding employment for indigenous people.
Pero hubo mucho problema en buscar trabajo en otra, como en la compañía chiquita, porque nosotros aquí como indígenas no estamos acostumbrados a usar químicos. Y cuando llegamos allá, una vez tocar químicos, y eso nos enfermó con cáncer, diabetes.
What Bernarda is referring to here was the widespread usage of DBCP, a pesticide used throughout Latin America in the 1970s. This pesticide is a known causer of cancer and sterility, with workers claiming the companies knowingly exposed them to DBCP. She tells me that due to the usage of the pesticide, many people from her community not only developed cancer, but were not able to get farming jobs because of this risk. This is obviously quite shocking, as a lot of these remote communities rely on the income and job security that farming provides. So where these big multinational companies like Chiquita hold a lot of this resource, it drives out indigenous people and makes them even more vulnerable. This is partly why Stibropa was founded. Amongst trying to preserve their heritage, Bernarda aims to turn to more organic and natural medicines and foods.
Bueno, la organización tiene la meta de que los jóvenes de esta comunidad hablen su idioma al futuro y que sean más, valoren más la cultura. Entonces nosotros lo que estamos haciendo es cómo lograr que alguien mayor que nosotros le pueda explicar a los jóvenes qué es lo que es la cultura, para que ellos vayan entendiendo. Pero tenemos que hablar primero el idioma, porque los mayores que saben, no saben hablar en español. Solo ellos lo pueden traducir en Bribri. Entonces la meta es de que los niños aprendan a hablar en Bribri y ellos puedan conversar con los mayores. ¿Cuál es nuestra cultura?
One of the biggest projects the locals are working on is developing an irrigation system for the community. Curious to see it for ourselves, my team and I set off with a family who offered to take us there, but what we didn't realise was that the journey would be anything but easy. For 2 hours we trekked through dense jungle, flooded rivers and got caught in torrential rain. The irrigation system we had come to see wasn't exactly what we expected. It was a natural hot spring just outside of the community, as well as an aqueduct, part of a vision to transform the site into both a tourist hotspot and a sustainable hot water source for the locals. From what we experienced, the terrain was unforgiving and the infrastructure needed to bring tourists here is virtually non-existent. But despite my doubts, this project isn't about tourism, it's about a future vision for the community determined to build something for their future. And whether or not you believe this to be an achievable goal, it seemed like the Bribri people will keep pushing forward to make this happen. My experience living here for less than a month showed me that a place like Yorkin has more than just an identity, but a cohesive vision for the people here. The Bribri are not just preserving their past, they are actively shaping their future, and it's important to remember that as outsiders to their community, we are all guests here, and should respect that this is not our land. It can also be a sensitive topic around tourism and volunteering, with not all the locals agreeing that there should be outsiders within their community. I feel that as a tourist here, I'm sort of wanted in terms of providing a better economy, but more so to kind of leave at some point. I think that tourism here and volunteering here works really well with the kind of organisation that they have. But at the end of the day, they do want us to leave at some point. I think that's fair enough. But despite the mountain of challenges they face as a community, they are proving that resilience is more than just survival. It's an act of defiance and a commitment to their own culture.